Welcome to Sleepy Tales. My name is Mateus, and before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below saying, "I'll sleep well tonight." Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into tonight's tale. Alice had always been a skeptic when it came to ghosts and the paranormal. She was a university student majoring in journalism, and she believed that everything could be explained through science and reason. But that was before she and her friends decided to investigate the legend of the haunted abandoned building on the edge of town. The building had been abandoned for years, and there were rumors that a ghost haunted its halls. Some said that the ghost was the spirit of a young girl who had died there decades ago, while others claimed it was the vengeful ghost of a man who had committed suicide in the building. Alice and her friends were determined to find out the truth. They planned to spend the night in the abandoned building and document any paranormal activity they might witness. Alice was skeptical, but she was also excited. This would be the perfect story to pitch to the local newspaper. As they entered the building, Alice felt a chill run down her spine. The air was thick and musty, and the darkness was almost suffocating. Her friends were all nervous, but they tried to hide it with bravado. As they explored the building, strange things started to happen. Doors would open and close on their own, and they could hear strange whispers and footsteps in the distance. Alice was still skeptical, but she couldn't explain everything that was happening. Then, they heard a loud bang coming from one of the rooms. They cautiously made their way over, and as they opened the door, they were met with a chilling sight. There, in front of them, was the ghost they had been searching for. It was a young man, his eyes blazing with anger and hatred. He was dressed in old-fashioned clothing, and he looked like he had just stepped out of another time. Alice and her friends were frozen with fear, but the ghost didn't seem to notice them. He was too busy staring at Alice. Alice felt a sudden coldness wash over her. She couldn't explain it, but she felt like she knew this ghost. He seemed familiar somehow. As she stood there, transfixed, the ghost suddenly spoke. "Alice," he said, his voice echoing through the room. "Do you remember me?" Alice was stunned. How did he know her name? She felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. The ghost went on to tell her his story. His name was Peter, and he had been a student at the university years ago. He had been in love with Alice, but she and her friends had bullied him relentlessly. They had humiliated him in front of his classmates, and he had been unable to take the shame. Peter had retreated to the abandoned building, where he had planned to take his own life. But something had gone wrong. He had accidentally summoned a demon, and in exchange for his soul, the demon had given him the power to haunt the building. Alice felt sick. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had no memory of ever bullying someone named Peter. She wanted to apologize, to make things right, but it was too late. Peter was consumed with hatred, and he had no intention of letting Alice and her friends leave the building alive. As the night wore on, Alice and her friends found themselves in a fight for their lives. Peter was relentless, and he seemed to know their every move. But as they made their way deeper into the building, Alice realized something. She wasn't just fighting for her life. She was fighting for Peter's soul. She knew that the only way to defeat the demon and break the curse was to save Peter. She had to find a way to make amends, to show Peter that she was sorry for what she had done. But how? She racked her brain, trying to remember anything about a student named Peter from her past. Finally, it came to her. Peter was real, but he wasn't a student. He was a figment of her imagination, a character she had created for a short story she had written in high school. She had never intended to hurt anyone, but somehow her subconscious had turned Peter into a real ghost. Alice shared this revelation with her friends, and they all looked at her in disbelief. But it was the truth. Alice had inadvertently created a vengeful ghost, and now she had to find a way to stop him. They tried everything, from salt circles to exorcisms, but nothing seemed to work. Peter was too strong, too consumed by his hatred for Alice and her friends. They were trapped, with no way out. That was when the demon appeared. The demon offered Alice a deal. In exchange for her soul, the demon would release Peter from his curse and allow him to move on to the afterlife. Alice was hesitant, but she knew it was the only way to save her friends and stop the horror that had been unleashed. She accepted the demon's offer, and Peter was finally released from his curse. He looked at Alice with sad eyes, and she could see the pain and hurt that she had caused him. As Alice and her friends left the abandoned building, they knew that they had narrowly escaped with their lives. But they also knew that they had been forever changed by the experience. Alice, in particular, knew that she could never forget the lesson that she had learned. Sometimes, the scariest things in life are the ones that we create ourselves. And sometimes, the only way to overcome them is to face them head-on, no matter the cost. Thank you for listening to this bedtime story, and remember, if you struggle with falling or staying asleep at night, click on the first link in the description for the ultimate solution to your problem. Now, choose one of these two videos and continue on our journey in the world of bedtime stories.